What's good, peoples? Big Said, industry co-sign, back at you. Happy spring to everyone. Maybe I shouldn't have just said spring, but anyway. I got my man Bill Foster on the other end. Um, Ex-party promoter, current party promoter, ex-law enforcement. Actually, I'm gonna let him introduce himself so that way he can let you know exactly who he is.
What's up, Sed? Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, my dude. We go way back.
Way back.
Standing out in front of Def Comedy Jam and spots and passing out flyers and all that. And my name is Bill Foster, everybody. Used to be in the industry, messing around with Sed, trying to do PR and public relations. After that, I switched over and started doing parties, which the industry wasn't kind to me. I met beautiful people, but it wasn't kind to me. And I started doing regular parties. And I eventually skyrocketed after a certain amount of years into being one of the top independent promoters in the city. I was going under the title of 4-Star Entertainment. So you name it, Mars 2112, the UN, hotels. I was averaging like about 1,500 every 6 weeks. Then along the time, that time I was doing civil service work, driving a bus. I used to work for the mayor's office. Also, too, I was in the martial arts at the time and fighting nationals. So I've been in the martial arts now 30-some years, sorted different styles, from karate, jiu-jitsu to Wing Chun, Tai Chi, Pontanukin, dirty boxing, and all that. I still carry a gun. Now, you know what I'm saying? I'm too old to be fighting right now.
So, dirty boxing Harlem style?
No. Yeah, a Harlem style too. I know how to run and shoot on the move. Now, let me stop. With that being said, I went into law enforcement in the early 90s, and I started in career. I'm from Harlem, like Sad said. I worked in Harlem, the 2A precinct, which for those that don't know what a 2A, if you're not from Harlem, it's where the Apollo Theater is, like a couple of blocks from the Apollo Theater. I did patrol for a few years. I went to SNU, which is Street Narcotics Unit, Organized Unit, Enforcement Unit. Then I went into the undercover work, the whole Donnie Brasco, In Too Deep, Wire, whatever you can correlate. I did that. I did ghosting. I did dignitary protection. So I guarded everybody from the president, George W. Bush, to Condoleezza Rice, the heads of states. And then I eventually got hurt at work and retired and started my own podcast called Real Talk Chronicles. I started from the passing of my mother. I knew I needed therapy. I was a caretaker and said, you know how this is being a promoter. We can't do anything small. So it just started growing and growing and growing and growing. And then I started shopping it around. And here I go back into the industry thing again, trying to shop at the industry. Industry talks about, we need celebrity-driven people. I get it. So I shelved that. I had some health issues. So I shelved it for a while. Eventually got married. And my wife was like, well, you're going to bring it back? Because everybody's still buzzing about it. So I said, yeah. But let's stop. I changed up from going from just talking about relationships, he, she, and why they can't do that. Right now, at our age, if you don't know why you're not married, I can't help you. I can give you all the advice in the world, but it is what it is.
I'm triggered. I'm not married. But I know why.
Exactly, right? So I say all that to say, so I went, let's go into the field that I know, law enforcement and life. So I got some former law enforcement officers. So we talk about former law enforcement issues, any issues pertaining to law enforcement today. I have a politician on the show. I have a doctor, world-renowned doctor. And then I have a pastor that comes on and does a little spiritual talk. In that time, I add certain things. And now I've started doing legendary promoters in the tri-state area and stuff like that. So, I'm happy to be a part. You've been on the show and your input has been phenomenal. I love the fact because you coming from a black man like myself, and you come from a civilian, and you come from a man that knows how to speak well and articulate. And like you said, when times you've been stopped, you've had to take care of certain situations. So I appreciate you and thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. First, I mean, you basically already covered it because I was going to ask, why did you transition from entertainment into law enforcement? But I can agree because this industry, I mean, I'm still involved, but I've been
Right.
in and out. And luckily for me, I guess doing the parties and then of course having my own site. The site is 18 years old now, so
Right.
having those things and not being involved, I'm still involved because like I'm putting out my content from my site from my point of view. So you already answered that question,
But
but
let me just say this. I and what made me to do that, me and Big Stan at the time, we was doing an industry party. I don't know what it was for, because industry people are funny. They only party during the week, like Monday through Sunday,
exactly,
Monday through Thursday.
exactly.
Because we, at the time said we would go to every album release party that there was.
Yep.
And we did a place, I think, at Bedrock, and we only had like 10 people. And I was so distraught, man. And I was just like, yo, I'm trying to stay in this industry that the people I love, but it seemed like the industry is not loving me back. And I said, yo, let me go back into what I do know. I know John and Jane Q Public. You know what I'm saying? And then I just started channeling my energy to, right? Because, industry people are industry people.
Yeah.
So John and Jane Q Public, you give them some quality event. And that's what I did. I gave them quality event, baby, 4-star. And I skyrocketed. I started out in late 80s, got my feet wet, and that was from industry too, late 80s on. And then in 90, maybe 3, 92, 94, or whatever it was, those years, I just had my first party, me and my man Mike Eddy, and we blew up, and we didn't stop until as a promoter said, you had your steady spot, and everybody knew Ced for that. You know what I'm saying? But you did other things with, Red Alert and Ralph McDaniels, and you had those things. You were branded with that, and everybody knows who Big Ced is. It's like slash comedian, promoter, journalist, all kind of things, and it was good. The whole thing about that too, I had to fall back and put some faces in front of me, because with NYPD, the way they posture themselves, they'll come at people of color when they see you out here having a good time. So I had to posture myself for a lot of years, but everybody knew who the face was and the name was behind the logo.
Let's get into that as far as like the I wouldn't say politics, but politics of being a Black police officer,
Sure.
particularly in New York City.
Sure.
I mean, of course, KRS-One made that song "Black Cop," and it's like I know you've heard it so many damn times. And
shout out to the teacher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have friends who also went to law enforcement and things of that nature. And I'm always curious as to, like I said, particularly in New York, only because I grew up in New York and I know how we're treated. Now, when we were growing up, our parents taught us like the cops are our friends, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But the tide started changing where, like, although my mother always said to us that I have 2 brothers. So she said to me and my brothers, you have 2 strikes against you. You were born with 2 strikes against you. You're poor and you're Black. So regardless of what it is that you do, you're basically, like Mike Tyson would say, you're still a nigger to, certain people. And, so it's like, and I know that, outside of the blue wall and things of that nature, like how was it to actually be involved in that atmosphere, in that environment, knowing what you know as somebody who grew up in Harlem, but also knowing that you're one of the good guys, having to deal with your own people in a mindset that we have towards police officers?
I try to, and now first and foremost, let me just, for your audience, let me say I understand the feelings of why our people feel the way they do towards police officers. Unequivocally, I get it. Now, on the flip side is what I try to tell our people: don't look at every officer like that, because you would be no different than a racist person looking at people of color, at every person of color. That in there lies the problem. That's the elephant in the room. Now, we stereotype. I've had it one time. I never forget it. One of the first incidences I had, and uniform cops was handling their thing, but we were out like the perimeter outside, and then all of a sudden, dude wanted to come at me. I don't know what he saw, and he just Tom, Dick, Harry, I was like, what? And like I said, I'm a Harlem dude. I'm a dude from the hood. So I was like, yo, you talking to me? So my man said, yo, chill. Because I'm ready to go and handle that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not used to being, I'm not used to being disrespected. So I was going to address that. So my man said, you got to let it go. You know, he can say what he kind of want to say. I was like, especially with too many people was watching. So I get the energy. The one thing about, like I try to tell police people, police officers, some are just like you and me. You know, like my partners, people I've worked with, it's just like said, it's a police officer, and I'm a police officer, and we go to work. We're snapping, we cracking jokes, we cutting up all day until we got to do what we got to do. Like, I've never touched anybody that didn't deserve to be touched. Didn't ask for it. If you didn't ask for it, you didn't get it. I've only had one CCRB out of 20 years. And that was because somebody didn't know the white guy's name that I was with and just remembered the black guy.
Of course.
And they remember, no, and that's what it was, real talk. And they remembered we were like the, Robert Culp and Bill Cosby, he was a white guy and I was a black guy. And they really was talking about, because the interactions with him, I didn't have anything to do with it. One CCRB. So that goes testament to my record and how I interacted with my people. Now, have I had to check people accordingly? Absolutely. Have I had the best part of being a police officer, I will tell people, is me when I was doing patrol. That's the people you see in the squad cars, for those that don't know. Because I could be a problem solver. With this job, it comes with discretion. A lot of times people take away the discretion. Officers have taken away that discretion because the ideology they have towards people that they propose to protect and serve. They don't protect and serve, they come in police. I never wanted to call myself a cop. I called myself a police officer. And people say, well, why do you call yourself a police officer? Because that's what I am, here to protect and serve. A cop has that terminology, oh, I'm here to do the job. I eat bologna sandwiches when I come home at night and have a cold beer. Dirty Harry, Burt Reynolds kind of, Bruce Willis kind of thing. Nah, people, they put themselves in that way. Listen, I've never told nobody I was a police officer when I was working. Somebody might have said, oh, that's my man, Bill Forster. He's a police officer now, former promoter, whatever. Yeah. And it's cool because what I turned out to be was a layman lawyer for the people in the hood. Now I became approachable, where they couldn't come to it. Somebody would be like, yo, B. They would meet me at the barbershop and be like, yo, what do you think about your situation and stuff like that? Now, the flip side is, if there was ever situations, I was able to converse with our people and break it down how something happened and didn't happen. And that's why I try to do what I do now to this day, to give somebody a place where they can talk to somebody and not feel that they're going to get BS'd. You know what I'm trying to say, Said? We don't have outlets and avenues to converse with people about what does a police officer think? Why does he do this? Why does he do that? And try to stop some of the stigmas and stereotypes. Now, don't get it wrong. There's some effed up police officers. I don't want to know if I can curse on your, but there's some effed up police officers out there, and they are the problem. Like KRS said a long time ago, and I've taken his slogan and ran with it. Wear the sheets. You know what I'm saying? Wear the sheets. Police officers and public servants from the South were the KKK.
Yeah.
They are certain officers' grandparents to this day. So you don't think the ideology has trickled down. And then this in lies a problem of why we get treated the way we're treated.
It's just like it said the NYPD or the LAPD are the biggest gangs in this city.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. 40,000.
With the mindset and the thing. Now the funny thing is, I mean, you've helped me out. Not that I'm on that side of the law, but I had a situation and I remember calling you up. So
yeah.
And the funny thing is that my cousin Lanier, of course,
my guy,
officer.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I get like I actually thought about becoming a police officer, like right on the cusp of me going into the industry, because I felt that I could be part of the solution and have that bridge because of all the things that was happening, especially in the 70s and the late
Absolutely.
70s. And it's like, we can't walk down the street without, I drive a car and I'm in Brooklyn. A police officer actually looks at my license and said, "What are you doing in Brooklyn?" And it's like, I have a car. The licensing card doesn't say you can only go this area or this. I'm like, so it's like
Yeah.
the type of questions. I remember going to parties back then where we come out the party, the police officers get off the block, this is that, and they're quick to grab up somebody. But then right down the block at another party, you'll see some drunk white guys come out,
And they
spitting,
won't say,
doing things,
shit.
cursing at the cops, saying "fuck you" and this,
Yeah.
that, and the other. And they're like, okay,
Yeah.
just walk down the street. And it's like, and I just never understood the mindset. And just like you said, I mean, I guess even with the things with black cops, because I get it, because it's like, if you join a gang, I mean, a police force, you have to kind of, it's like when President Obama became president.
But you can say the word gang though. It's okay, because the bottom line is they say it when they want to, and there hasn't any cop that hasn't said it. And let me tell you something, and that's why you said something, and I just really want to comment on it. The reason why the mindset is because there isn't any equality. They don't see us as equal people. When you see, how many times we'll see a video and we'll see a white man berate a white officer, and he'll be like, "Ooh," but as soon as we say, "What? Who are you talking to? Get out the car." Why? Like, we don't have the liberties to question, because, like I said, that's the mindset, because they don't see us as equality. They see us only as rappers, athletes, serving in subservient roles, drug dealers working it. See, when we work in McDonald's, like they were when they were young, we don't become the crew chief. We don't become the manager. We make it a whole damn career flipping burgers. They go on and they take the test because their brother and their uncle is going to help them out and get them on the job. Yeah. So what the problem is, they don't see us in authoritative roles. They don't see us. They see us in subservient roles. And a lot of times we don't want to take the test. Like you said, you would have been a great officer. Why? Because you're a communicator. I tell anybody all the time, a communicator is the best officer in the world. You don't have to have hands. But the bottom line is, no matter who Big CED is, Big CED doesn't have to be a punk. He doesn't have to be the best fighter in the world, because the bottom line is, you got a radio. I mean, but I'm saying, you got a radio to call. But it's just like going to school. I tell people all the time, that's why the best new police officers are like people from the inner city, because the bottom line is, we were taught. Your mama said, your mother father said, don't come home without something. Don't tell me somebody beat your ass and you didn't do something. You didn't fight back. It's the same thing in the street, bro. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, the police officer, it's like going to, you and I, how much we joke and laugh with each other. It's the same way if you go into work and you hook up with the like-minded people and you laugh and joke. But now when we talk about that ideology, that mental and working, yeah, black officers are going to kind of partake of, because they're outnumbered.
Yeah. So, I can understand. Yeah. I can definitely understand. It's just like when President Obama became president, black people were like, yes. I'm like, he's the president of the United States, not the president of black people.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
He's going to have to follow the same rules the white guys before him followed, because that's the rules. It's like, you can't anticipate. And like, so many people got mad because it's like, he didn't think for black people. I was like, it's not that. It's that, one, it's never that easy. If it was that easy, it'd probably be more of a dictatorship than a presidency. And people don't understand that. What I was glad about when Obama was elected was that more people decided to become involved, even if it was
politically.
2 terms. Yeah. Even if it's only for 2 terms. Because the minute he got out of office, it's like, I don't care anymore. And I'm like, we got to change that mindset. But I also was telling people, like, for the years I've lived in New York, like Patrick Lynch, who's he, like, the worst thing I mean, I've always said that he was like the opposite of Al Sharpton, because you know how they feel about Al Sharpton, him being this, that, and other. I'm like, no, Patrick Lynch, even on Sharpton's worst day, I see the way that he comes across in the media. I see the way that he, describes, us and things of that nature. And I'm like, this guy, and I've always said this, I think that we would get along much better with police officers if all of them weren't always innocent. It's like, you know what? Get rid of the bad ones. And another thing that I always hate when cops say, help us catch the bad guys. Y'all not even catching your own bad guys. Why are you asking us to do something that you're not willing to do? It's like, y'all, we know that you're good. If there's 20 of you and 3 are bad, there's still 17 good ones, but the 3 overshadow the 17, and y'all not going to do anything about what the 3 does. But yet, y'all want to come into our neighborhoods and expect us to do that for y'all. It's like, no, it can work both ways. And I feel that because everyone had this thing, and I want to ask you questions about that as well, because everything's in my mind right now as far as snitching. Because I say to people, I'm like, people don't understand what snitching is. Snitching is me and Bill, we boys, we robbed a bank, and I went and I told on Bill. Snitching isn't, I saw Bill, who's my neighbor, do something to my mother, and then I tell the police. It's like, oh, you snitching. That's not snitching.
No, that's not snitching.
And people don't understand that. And I know that people get so caught up in the whole thing with I'm like, nah, I'm like, one thing I'll tell you right now, if anyone attacks my mother and you're not saying anything, I might say something to you that you should have. I mean, I don't want to.
No, you can say it, because you know what's so funny? That's the human innate nature, and people have to understand. I tell people all the time, oh, if you do something to my family, I got you. You ain't got to worry about jail. You ain't worry about police. It is what it is. Like, and when you talk about snitching, like when I go to schools before the pandemic, I used to go around the tri-state area and speak to schools, public schools, any school that asked me to do it. And the way it grew for me is because one person heard and they told another person. So I was just speaking at all kind of schools. I say that to say, and I address that whole thing with the kids about snitching. I ain't snitching, detective. That ain't what I do. I ain't built like that. I said, okay, I get it. So I said, let me ask you a question. Just, we'll say PD, for instance. You got your cell phone on the table, your keys, your books, and you go to the bathroom. You leave it right here. This is your class. And you come back, it's gone. You want somebody to tell who took your cell phone? Yeah. Is that snitching? Nah, because it's my shit. No, it's snitching. And if that's what you feel, telling is snitching in your mind. But see, it's not snitching, because the bottom line is you left it here and you know somebody in here got it, right? And so understand what you call snitching and not snitching. You know what I'm saying? Like your perfect analogy is what you said. Listen, we go do a job, only you and I know we doing it, and then you all of a sudden tell, okay, you snitch. When it comes to crimes and, stirrings of I'm right, I turned my head and looked and then somebody took it, and I ain't snitching, bro. Just tell me what happened. Because if I take everybody's shit, then I'm a problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mindset. You know, we have said, I was telling people, and I was talking last night on the show, we have to learn how to get our children back. Because you said something in the beginning of the show that's so important that is not done to this day. It's when we were kids, they taught us, even from the Black Panther era to that 70s, you know, the Woodstock Revolution, everything, they taught us, teach the kid, you know, if you see a police officer, that's your friend. Now, you got people trying to throw water on police officer, bucket challenges and shit. And now everybody hates the police. Everybody hates the police, right? I can tell you stories. Drug dealers have called the police and be like, yo, he tried to rob me. Rob you of what? You know what I'm saying? One time there was a dude dumb enough to say he took my drugs. Okay, you're telling me okay. Got it. I think you better go out and come back and tell us about that story. You know, so it's funny. Like I said, the stories, you can't make them up. You laugh, you it's funny. But I've had a great time doing that. I've met some beautiful people. I've met some good white cops, some good Spanish cops, some good black cops. And then I've met the worst of both, all of that nationalities. I've met the racists. I've met the ones that, how do you work in a building and only police officers can get in, and it's just you and a white person coming down the hallway and he does not speak. I do not, to this day, get it. But that was a normal. And that's just who they are. They never shed their skin. You know what I'm saying? They're taught that black people, they're not used to being around black people. A lot of them have been coddled and carried their whole careers. And then I get mad when I one day when together, I'm gonna show you some of these little private chat groups we're in, the racist stuff that they spew. Now I see why there's such a problem and a disdain between people of color and white officers, because they really feel it's them against the world. Yeah. An officer, when another officer commits something, the first thing an officer will say, he may say to me and you, said he messed up, but he will not go out and verbally say that. And that's the problem. If Pat Lynch would ever say, listen, this is a terrible situation that happened to that family. Our prayers go out to the family. We're so sorry for what happened. We're going to investigate this and we'll get back to you with some kind of decision and determination. De-escalate, right? No. Well, he had 8 priors or he had 1 prior. Why would he do that? Why would he resist? Why didn't he comply? What the hell does that have to do with an unarmed man getting shot? See, so all you did was just start a fuel to my fire. You know what I'm saying? And that in lies a lot of the problem, said.
Unapologetic as well.
Absolutely.
Unapologetic,
Absolutely.
But going forward, with our second black mayor, what are your thoughts as far as him being the ex-police officer now, running the city? How do you think he'll do a good job?
Well, Eric is a personal friend of mine. I've known him when we were both police officers at the time. I supported him in his campaign. I had him on the show and when he was running his campaign to be elected. I think Eric is trying his hardest. Eric has that, I guess, shall we say, swag? We're going to use the swag for people of color. And the reason why I say that is because, Saturday Night Live did a skit on him and how he was, always in the camera and talking and stuff like that. And he's cocky. But what's so funny? And I had people call me and it was like, yo, look at your boy. He's cocky, this and that and stuff. I said, well, wait a minute. You didn't say that about Bloomberg. You didn't say that about Giuliani. You didn't say that about anybody in office before. You didn't say that about Trump. Now a black man is in office and you're talking about him being cocky. Listen, Obama showed us that he was black with a little brush the shoulders off, and he felt like the person next door. David Dinkins, may he rest in peace, he was trying to be the great mosaic. He was trying to pacify everybody. Right now, Eric is not trying to do that. He's telling you, I'm the head NIC, and I'm going to do it my way. The problem, Eric, the only one thing I had a little issue with Eric recently, and if I was talking to him right now, I'll tell him, I said I didn't like the fact that he talked about Black Lives Matter in lieu of the shootings, in the subway station. My thing was like, listen, if y'all don't get along, that's fine. But equating George Floyd and Black Lives Matter was there for them in equating, and then in lieu of 12 people getting shot. Now, I agree where you don't know where your child is at 10 o'clock. I agree with that. People need to start being parents again. But don't start doing that, because all it takes now is what they'll say. Oh, if Eric Adams could talk about Black Lives Matter, why can't I? And now, any leader that we've ever had has been called a terrorist. Malcolm, Martin, the Black Panthers, even Al Sharpton, if you want to call Al Sharpton your leader. All of them have been called terrorists. You know what I'm saying? Now, Black Lives Matter was speaking, and I've had like my white friends too, that the ones that felt comfortable enough to ask me, they was like, yo, Bill, if Black Lives Matter cares so much about Black people, why don't they go stop this and stop that? I said, is it their job? I said, if you care, why don't you do something about it? I said, Black Lives Matter is just not just Black people. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Let's understand and see what we don't understand. The media has something to play with that, and you and I are part of the media now, and we have to highlight the white on white crime. It's like I showed a white man kicking 2 white cops behind, right? And he didn't get shot. So I was giving Kevin the business on it. I was like, yo, what's up with this? So, and we said if he was Black, he would have got shot. Look at the Black man that just got shot over a traffic violation. I forgot where he got shot at. He got shot in the back of his head. because he took the cop's taser, but he shoots him in the back of the head. That's unheard of. Now, let me tell you something. People of color, we have to understand, because if I was working, you're gonna see me beat your ass. You're gonna see me beat somebody's ass. But what I'm gonna tell you is, I didn't shoot him. You see what I'm saying? See, we got to understand. The cancer culture has changed so many different things. You got people always trying to pacify and justify something. Listen, the way people are talking now to officers is unheard of. It's unheard of. Suck my private and all that. Yeah. I've never seen so many disrespectful people, and people think they can get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
In defense of people feeling that way, it's like I know when I was on the program with you and Kevin, when I was like, it's as if like police officers are trained to say, "Stop resisting," or yes, it's like resisting. I'm just standing here, like, and yelling it out and saying things that are key, or are seeing, like you said, white people doing everything to do whatever, and they have such restraint. And I always say, when a police officer says, "I was in fear for my life," I'm like, well, you don't need to be on the police force.
You're right.
Every time you are in fear for your life, what good are you?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be protecting lives. You're supposed to be stopping things. The first thing you're going to do is shoot a black man because, like I said, it's as if like everyone has a script, because you always hear the "stop resisting." You always hear the "I fear for my life." It's as if there's a plan. The one thing I am happy about is that more corrupt cops are being convicted, because I said this on your program. Yeah. When white people are sick of things, that's when actions happen. So there are white people that's like, you know what? I'm sick of seeing this myself. All of a sudden now cops are actually being arrested, and not only being arrested, but actually being convicted. Convicted, just like the one in Dallas, the one in Texas, the lady who went to the wrong apartment and killed the black man.
Yeah.
She tried 3 separate times and they denied each time. So she has to go to jail because she's exhausted her appeals. Yes. And I'm pretty sure she thought she was going to get away with it because all of them do. And he said, and I know for a fact that, they need to change that. We're going to give you 48 hours to get your story together. We're going to give you 48 hours.
You're right. You're right, though. You're right. Listen, it's like I've always told people, I said, do you think I'm less dangerous because I'm retired, or do you think I'm more dangerous because I'm retired? I know the ins and outs. I know the pen to the paper. You understand what I'm trying to say? That being an ex-law enforcement, I try to tell them all the time. I say, even when I was law enforcement, they were going to protect me. See, we have to understand the mentality. And when I go back to that mentality, you said something, and I'm trying to recap what you were talking about. How you were just talking about something that I wanted to piggyback on, but it'll come back to me. See, officers, like, I have a problem when I hear officers talk about heroes, like it's your job. Like, when I hate, God forbid, when officers get shot. That is a tragedy. It's taboo. But the bottom line is, I signed up. Like you said, I go towards danger. I don't run away from it. You know what I'm trying to say? So when they say, "Oh, he's a hero," that's his job. Okay, you want to give him a hero, but that was his job. Like you said, that is what you do. Like a fireman. Listen, I tell people all the time, I could have never been a fireman. Why? Me and fire don't get along. Listen, you want to.
I'm good.
Listen.
I quit. No.
Yeah. Who do you want me to call? Because I'm not coming to get you. You know what I'm saying? Yo,
it's
listen.
Too hot.
It's too hot. I can't. Listen, my skin burn, baby. Yo, listen. You can shoot at me. Okay, I can play this game with you. I can duck and dodge. I can shoot back. That fire. Listen, I've never seen anybody beat fire. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen anybody beat fire. So I get it, but they signed up to do that job.
Yeah,
that's nobody's fault. So you're right in that aspect. I think officers and sometimes people got the game mixed up. You know what I'm saying? They don't take it as their there to protect and serve. Some officers do, and those are the good ones. And sometimes they get scrutinized for being good by the bad. You know what I'm saying? Because the bad have an ideology. I've seen I had an officer tell me one time, he said, if an officer shot somebody in his family, he would take the side of the officer. And I looked at him, I said, why would you do that? He said, because the officer didn't sign, he didn't come to work to hurt nobody. So somebody in my family had to disrespect him or stuff like that. And now I got what you were saying. When we hear people, you're taught to say all these things, stop resisting, police don't move. Because why? When somebody goes to court, Mr. So-and-so and so-and-so and Mr. So-and-so, and they're going to say, well, what? The attorney's going to say, excuse me, Mr. Thornton, what did you hear? Oh, I heard the officer say, stop resisting, stop moving. Because what the ears hear, the mind believes. But now I tell people all the time, if a person pinch you or push you, what do? You move. So how can you push and pull and pinch and hit and think I'm not going to react to that? There's no such thing. If you hit me, I contract. You don't hit me and I go like that. You know what I'm saying? It's an oxymoron.
But I've also realized that in some like videos I've seen, I've heard people saying, I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. Yeah. So it's like now we're combating what your defense is going to be. Yeah. What are you going to do next? So it's like we got to stop playing these games. It's like we want to side with the good, whether it's good people or good police officers.
Yeah.
We can't continue to have this. It's like politics, Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, we get along. We cool, but you're on the other side. So I gotta play this game because my colleagues are looking at me. And even though I agree with you, I can't agree with you. I mean, just with the last judge that they just confirmed, like the Republicans was like, oh, she's this, that, and the other. But the minute she's up for this, it's like I can't sign on to this.
Yeah. Like she's good, but nah, I can't give her that pass.
She's the most qualified judge in history. And you're like, well, since Biden, you know what? I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. And I want to give your listening audience something to take with them. If I can give them some kind of advice, when you ever get pulled over and an officer starts to ask you, now here's the double-edged sword. An officer starts to ask you any questions, he's opened up an investigation. Let's be clear. If I pull you over and say, how you doing? You say, fine. And I say, where you going? Right? And you tell me I'm going to my mom's house. Okay, where's your mom live at? She lives on so-and-so. So why are you on this side? Oh, that means I'm coming from someplace. Now, in his mind, he may think he got you because you're coming maybe through a drug-prone location, which you may have not known or you may have known of. But the thing is, now here's the other flip side to that. Which you choose not to answer because you have the right not to answer. You could be like, officer, I really don't. I feel uncomfortable. You want my license registration? Here, take that. But I don't feel like answering any questions. I just feel like, it's unfair. He may just write you a bunch of tickets just because he's an ass or a bastard. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something, I like anything. Pick your poisons. In relationships, if your wife or your husband asks you some questions, you know what to say and what not to say. You know that if for the betterment of your bed, you may have to answer some questions. You understand what I'm saying? So don't just go in there and try to be gangster and say, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that.
I'm gonna say this. I didn't mean to cut you off. But one thing, like, because Lanier's uncle was a police officer.
Right.
So what I would do when I say my uncle, I just say my uncle's a police officer. They tend to back off.
Of course, they de-escalate. Yes.
Well, from my understanding, my uncle's a police officer. He told me, and it's like, okay, well,
get out of here.
All of a sudden, it went from I'm interrogating you to okay, have a nice day. It's like, why?
I'm gonna tell you two reasons why that is. One, it's called professional courtesy, and then two, there was a time back then where if you called me, I was your brother, and you told me that. And you got the officer's name, I'm going to see him. So you see, people fail to realize that the shit gets real in the precinct or outside the precinct.
But the funny thing is this. I used to take down badge numbers and they'd be like, what are you doing? I said, if you're doing nothing wrong, you have nothing to worry about.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you take it easy. And I would tell my friends, like, our friends are usually ignorant on some, fuck that. I'm like, listen, play their game. All I do is say, what's your badge? Okay, just said, it's like, why do you want my badge number? The minute they ask you why I want their badge number, I'm like, you're in the wrong. If you don't ask any questions, you continue what you're doing. I'm like, okay, you know what? It is what it is. You might still be wrong, but you're not reacting like you're wrong.
Absolutely.
Just like if you ask me a question, where am I going? I'm like, I don't have to tell you where I'm going. You're like, okay, I don't like that answer. So this, that, and other. I say to people, I'm like, let me just take down your badge number. Every time, there had not been a time where if somebody was being an asshole and I said that, and I'm looking at them like, or there was one time where like this when we was doing parties, this was like 5 of us in the car, they swarmed us, and I'm like, you can't do that, and they drew guns, and I'm like, what's this for? So he's like, you don't ask questions. I said, that's okay. So I took out a pen. He's like, what are you doing? I said, you don't ask questions, right? So then the other cop starts to walk away. And then when his partner saw him, he said, I see him go like this. And he's like, and then they both started walking away. So I'm like, okay, y'all are wrong. And I'm an intelligent black man. So now all of a sudden, you can't use I'm just going to do whatever I can because he doesn't know what I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, and the thing is, I filed a complaint, but it went nowhere because I had somebody in the car who was an ex-con, didn't want to get involved. I had somebody else who's like, well, I'm scared of cops because they always end up, and I'm like, this is the reason why they do this to us. White people, they'll be like, I'm calling my lawyer. They don't even have to have a lawyer. They're
gonna get one though.
Yeah. Or they're gonna have somebody. And the thing, I'm like, yo, we have to play the same game so that way we can get the same treatment. Because
that's what happens to so many of us before, that we got arrested for stuff that we really didn't do, or it was trumped up, like they said. Excuse me for using that word, trumped up charges, and then they go in front of the judge and they get the shyster, and then they cop out to a charge. Why? And now they have a record and marijuana, a little smoking marijuana, something a little roach that could have been thrown out. You know what I'm saying? Or open container and things of that magnitude. I never forget when I had an open container on the train when I was before the job. When I applied for the job, I paid. Thank God, I paid. The fine, which was a $10 fine. But the guy was like, "Yo, officer." The guy said, my people was like, "Yo, it's his birthday. We going downtown." Oh, so they wrote me the ticket anyway. And I'm looking at this dude. He's just probably about a year older than me. You know what I'm saying? But there isn't any. I remember I used to hate when I see officers write somebody a ticket for an open container or peeing in the street, and then they leave work or they leave a bar or something and they do the same thing. And I'd be like, yo, you're such a hypocrite. Like, listen, as a man, I know what it's like to have to go to the bathroom and can't make it home and pull over and find a tree. And then when I find you, am I going to write you a ticket? Because you're going to say, well, yeah, I was peed in the street, officer. I couldn't make it home. Okay. I seen officers go, like I said, leave work, stop off at the liquor store or the grocery store and get and finish a six packs on the way home. And I'm like, wow. But you'll be the first one to talk about write them. So it's the hypocrisy that happens that causes so much problems and stuff like that. And a lot of things can just be stifled with how you speak to people. You know what I'm saying?
The mutual respect would go a long way.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
But before we go, I mean, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? You got a party now.
Yeah. I'm doing I hooked up with my boys, Assorted Flavors. They're out of the Bronx and Brooklyn, and we decided to do a brunch party. We did it before the pandemic, grown and sexy. And what I mean sexy, I'm not talking about wear your best stuff. I'm just talking about just look like a grown folk, our age. And, it's for the very mature. And I mean, when I say mature, our age, I'm not talking about style and dress. Just come looking like look like your age. How about that? If that's some white sneakers and some jeans or some slacks or whatever, ladies, you want to show your pretty feet, that's cool. Whatever it is, just come on out. It's a brunch. We do it at Row House in Harlem on 115th Street, the third Saturday of the month. And we talked about that in the beginning. The easiest thing that's ever happened to me in my life is bringing people together, and I'm sure you can kind of contest to that because that's why we do what we do. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a talent for it, and and the money's good sometimes. I stopped promoting because I was mad, and this is a true story. I stopped at the top of my game, and the reason why I stopped is because at one spot I was doing, the person was like the doorman or the bartender, whomever it was, before we get out of here. And I used to tip everybody before the end of the night because I didn't know how my crowd would be. Sometimes you can't gauge somebody tipping you. Them days of the $2 tip or the dollar tip, whatever. So I would just start them off with a $20. So one day I'm going by, say, a Big CED party, and I see a person. They say, "Yo, Bell, what's up?" So I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" So that's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm here to support CED." It's like, "Oh, word, come on in." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I'm coming in. Like, "What do you want to drink?" Da, 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 da. So I'm like, "Cool. What are you doing here?" I own it. I was like, wow. So I kind of fell back from that mentality because I was like, all these years, you were just like the door person, the barmaid, the bar person, and then you saved your money and you saw a big picture, and now you own the spot. All we doing is getting somebody else paid. You know what I'm saying? So then one time I went around to a certain bunch of people and I said, let's get together and buy something. Who gonna be the CEO? Who gonna be this? You worrying about BS. Let me tell you something. White people don't do that. Either said your idea, if I believe in it, how much do we got to do? Everything is going to be contracts. So it is what it is. So to make the long story short, I decided that you do miss the roar, you do miss your people. And I said, it's a great thing. People can come out to establishment. I don't have to work hard. All I got to do is invite, and people could come, the music set. See, you and I are from an era where we made the spot. People came to support us. This new generation of promotion is different. The DJ makes the promoter. I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying?
No, people used to ask me when I first started doing parties, like, back then it was, Kid Capri, Ron, yeah, whatever. But I would tell people it's a Big CED party.
Absolutely.
And they didn't understand it at the time. I'm like, I can have any DJ, I can have no DJ, and you're gonna come to my party not because of who's DJing. I've seen too many promoters do that.
Yeah,
they didn't have the right DJ. Nobody's going to the party. You're coming to a Big CED party, so having a better DJ is a bonus.
Absolutely.
I always make sure of that. I tell people you come to a Big CED party.
I have said to this day, I've been promoting since 1988. I have never put a comedy, a fashion show, or stuff like that, or a songstress or an R&B singer. I've never done any of that, because the bottom line, once I give you that, you're going to always expect that, and then I'm going to be labeled for that. There are some people right now that all they can do is comedy, and that's no disrespect to them. Yeah. But the bottom line is, let them say, "Oh, I want to do a party just because I think I'm somebody." Nobody will come, because you've been stereotyped just to do comedy. You and I have done, like I said, we've done all kind of functions. I know there's times, like I said, I used to see you at the grill. I know if I want to see CED, I could see him at every Thursday or Thursday, right? Every Thursday. Or I look forward to your birthday, your ultimate birthday bash for Red Alert and Johnny Fame, and and those crew. But times change. So, but the bottom line is, you're still a promoter. You still can do that, and you can come back and refresh yourself, because the bottom line is you left with good product, and that was the best thing, like what I'm doing now. So I had a great thing, good product, and it's good. The third Saturday of the month. So the next one is May 21st. People come out, show love. Even if you don't want to buy, you don't want to sit down and make reservations, you can come by and hang out at the bar and listen to some good music. We do some grown stuff. We sit outside in the front and smoke cigars. Lanier was like, "Where are you?" But it was too late, because it's only from 1 to 8. We older now, said, ain't gonna stay out here to a certain hour, So, man, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I hope I answered all your questions.
And, yeah, no, thank you. Like I said, it was a nice conversation as always. Yeah. So, I appreciate you coming through. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I'll be on your show.
Oh yes, absolutely. I need you back, because and can I give myself a plug?
Of course.
Everybody, you can watch Real Talk Chronicles on YouTube, and if you might have seen it on CED's been on the show. He might have shared it to his page, stuff like that. Real Talk Chronicles. It's Mondays and Wednesdays, every day. Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 9. and we'll have assorted ghosts. Guests, excuse me, ghosts. That's what I used to do. Ghosts. Assorted guests, and it's a beautiful thing. We get it in hard body, and you can call in. The one thing you can do when we're live, you can call in, and I can send you the link, and you can come on in and chop it up. As long as you got some good conversation, right? Said, like you said, you and Kev, y'all listen. When y'all first met, y'all was getting it in all day.
Yeah. I like Kevin.
Yeah, he likes you too.
I like the fact that when he couldn't agree with me, like his face would be like, I want to, but I can't, but I do. And I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, he turned as red as his hair.
But I also like the fact that like his point of view, like of course him not knowing me and knowing like who I am,
right.
And like you said, being articulate and being understanding, but also saying this is the reason why things happen this way, right. Not because of the way you think or you may have heard from others.
Yeah,
so I like the fact that he always respected what I said, but I've respected what he said in his train of thought as well. Because I'm looking at him like, yeah, being white can get you in trouble when you think that way. You know,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. And you know what the beautiful thing about it is, he's a white man, and he's gonna say, "I think like a white person."
Yeah.
Like, and I used to talk to him, and I'd be like, ask him all the time, like, "You're so pro cop, why?" And officers talk about you bleed blue. Like, I don't bleed shit. I bleed black first. You know what I'm saying? And I had to tell officers, like, yo, listen. They'd be like, well, you were an officer, you're a detective. I said, yeah, but I was a black man first. So I'm supposed to give up 20 some of those years because I gave you 20 years? No, I'm always going to be black, and I'm going to stay black, and I'm going to die black, and I'm going to be treated black by another white officer when I'm retired. Let me tell you something. Officers disrespect retired detectives and retired officers faster than they'll disrespect a military person. That's facts. I don't understand the game. It's like you're mad. It's like they're mad because you were able to retire instead of honor you. Like, like the industry. You know how it is. Somebody in the industry, you still give love. I see you, I give love. No matter how big you are. I'm sure if we saw Puffy right now, he's still going to dap us out like the same way he was back in the days. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is we still play different. And I get it. I can't get mad at you for rising that way. Stop hating. People hate all the time, man. So, yo, thank you, Sid. I appreciate you. Anytime you want me back, man, just call at you. I hope your listeners learned something and got some insight. And everybody out there, please be careful if you get pulled over. Don't mouth off. Articulate yourself. Use your verbs and your adjectives, and don't be demonstrative, because the bottom line is they're going to take that as some will take that as a threat. And definitely be careful for those people that are in the South and Florida.
Or even up north.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Syracuse, too. Little boy bag of chips.
Oh, yeah. 8 years old. I mean, come on.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure the next time we'll speak, there'll be something else we could be like, who does that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My brother.
Thanks once again. You enjoyed. Tell your wife. I'll tell her later. No.
My man. I love you, bro.
I'll probably be on the show next week. You from the crowd, just
come on in. Exactly, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to pass all the time. All you got to do is just say, "Send me the link. I'm coming in, man. I'm coming in hot."
All right, man. You enjoy the rest of the day and the weekend, man. And thanks once again.
I told you. Thank you.
Big Ced time.
Big Ced, chopping it up with Big Ced, my man.
Definitely. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Peace.